Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Got Tyler with me.
What's going on?
Man, I got to get used to the video.
Yeah.
This is a lot different. But we just, from our last episode, on YouTube, we went 10x on views.
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoy it. They like watching podcasts instead of just listening.
Well, it's kind of like even if I do the Kindle narration. So I can listen and read at the same time. I don't know, you just get more out of it.
Yeah.
Get to see the emotions. So, but yeah, welcome to those on our YouTube channel listening to this now. This episode, we're going to bring on Mark Hilligoss. He is with Rural Charge Trucking. We saw him at the MATS, Mid-America Truck Show, and got him to speak. Just several months prior, Mark had reached out to us, and man, I thought this was just a cool story. A fellow subscriber member, Andy Orem, and friend of Mark's, was diagnosed with this disease. I won't go into the details of that, but Mark had reached out to us on how we could help promote this GoFundMe page for Andy Orem to help him and his family with that. Unfortunately, Andy doesn't have insurance, so they're having to figure out how to pay for the hospital bills, but just all the other bills because he's not running. Yeah. But we got to talk, and man, you'll find this podcast super fascinating. It really boils down to this band of brothers that these guys have. And I think it's not just in the bulk hauling industry, Tyler. I mean, we see it all the time where these guys, I can remember back in my Bartlett days, man, these guys like to run together. Yeah. I mean, they're all separate companies, separate owner operators, but they wanted to run together, and they kind of had this group that they would kind of take care of each other. You know, they help each other out. They run together. So it was just kind of like, this mini convoy, but this band of brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought his story was crazy how they actually found out about Andy's disease.
Yeah.
They were just they were all talking on the CB, and Andy kind of had a flare up of the disease, and Mark told him to pull over, and they found out what was going on. But I remember whenever Mark reached out to us, he was like, "Man, I hate asking. You always hate asking, for money, or it feels like you're asking for donations." And he really reached out to us and said that he hates doing it. But yeah, this is just a thing that happened to Andy, and the best we can do to support him, the better.
Yeah, and he goes into more details on just how they function on the road and how they treat each other on the road. And it's not just, they're helping each other out, but even other truckers on the road. Mark gives a certain scenario that just recently happened where they actually, there was this wreck, and this guy was trying to drive away, and man, they went up and blocked the guy from getting away. And they're kind of like police out on the roads.
Yeah, kind of like a movie scene.
Yeah, it's kind of like a movie scene for sure. So maybe we can contact somebody to make one for that. But cool. Well, with that said, here is my conversation with Mark Hilligoss of Rural Charge Trucking at the Mid-America Truck Show. Mark, thanks for stopping by the booth.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you reached out to us a couple months ago about one of your drivers, and I want you to tell the story, but we wanted to do what we could to help you with this driver. That driver, actually, he was a member with us beforehand, and he was still on with your all's company using BulkLoads. Actually, I remember when I saw the name, and you're going to say the name here, I like that it stood out. I just remember seeing that guy. I remember him being a member on our site. But give us the full story about this.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, we've had a group of us that we drive together hauling bulk loads for Bayer Corporation, and we support them hauling their bulk seed to different locations to their dealers. And Andy has been running for Bayer for over 20 years.
Yep.
Mainly running with being on farms. And so we run as a group, and we stay in touch with one another, obviously, on the radio or on the phone. And back in December of last year, we kind of started getting an indication that Andy, something was going on. We'd be talking to him, and things would just pause out like he lost connection. And what we found out was he would then apologize to us, and I couldn't talk for a little bit. And his tongue would just lock up. And so I was scared. The first time that happened, I said, "Man, pull over. Let's do some checks for stroke."
Yep.
Thought we had that coming on. got worse. It got to where it was affecting his eating. And he went to the doctor mid-December. They diagnosed him with Myasthenia Gravis, which is a rare nervous system that attacks.
I never heard of it until you sent that to me.
Yeah, and it's very rare. There is a medication that can help, but it comes and goes. So they've got him on currently got him stabilized, but as you know, when I contacted you folks before, that week he was in ICU.
Yeah.
And when I called him that Tuesday morning, he told me he was trembling, and he said, Mark, they told me if my lungs can't expel any better, if the numbers get any worse, they got to put me on a vent. And they told me I may not come off that vent. So that shook us tremendously. And some of the other drivers and I got together, and we said we got to do something. I got a hold of GoFundMe, started a fund there.
Yep.
Andy Orem is the gentleman that we're trying to support.
Yep.
And you folks thankfully put it out on your dashboard there
Absolutely.
that one day, and we're trying to do anything we can to help him. His medical bills he shared with me recently is already over $250,000, and he does not have any medical insurance to help out. Working with the hospital, trying to help them with those numbers. Last week he made the tough decision that he's going to have to retire.
Oh, man.
So
How old is Andy?
Andy is in his 60s, and I can't tell you exactly. I apologize.
No, it's all right.
But just he's one of our old standbys that, man, if you had something wrong, he was there fixing it before you could even do anything about it yourself.
He's had an impact on you.
Absolutely. And Cody Miller with C&K, Miller Trucking, same thing. He's been Cody's mentor getting going. And, Cody and I have a hard time talking about it without tears coming down. It's a very... It's unimaginable to even explain somebody's love for trucking getting taken away from him like this. And, this isn't the way he wanted to retire at all. But we all love him, and we're just trying to do everything we can. And anybody that could do anything, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. We spoke earlier before we turned on the podcast about this band of brothers. And talk about that. I don't think guys talk about that much in the industry. Sometimes you see more guys, against each other, especially when you see the forums. And, these guys just making fun of each other. And, it breaks my heart sometimes. But, man, we're here to help each other out. Even if you're competing on a certain level, because, again, really the guys that you work with, you guys are all independents and, essentially somewhat competing with each other, but working together. But talk about this band of brothers that you have right now in the industry.
Absolutely. It's very comforting knowing you're out on the road and you got somebody that has your back.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just knowing that I got your back.
Right. And, if people would understand, this country right now is going through a situation where everybody's got to be divided. But you know what? We can do it a lot better together.
Yeah. And we don't need the government to tell us this.
No, we don't. And us, we're just old school people who we raised in the truck with our dad. We were probably driving when we were 10 years old.
Yeah.
We got a love and a passion for what we're doing. And the big thing is we got a love and passion for those who are working with us, because we know they're going to be there at our side when we're in trouble. And we've worked through some situations that it just blows your mind. But when you stick together, you got a number of people. It's not just one voice. You got multiple voices saying, hey, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And, just last week, 2 weeks ago, I was telling you about the driver that was going down the road.
Talk a little bit about that story. I thought that was interesting.
It's just crazy. And it was a very dangerous thing I did. But this truck driver I was talking about, Andy, was on the phone with me. I was checking in to see how he's doing that day. And a person in a truck, I can't call him a gentleman.
Yeah.
He was driving his truck like a taxi cab driver. Sadly, he just suddenly decided he wanted the left lane and took the truck out beside him, knocked him into the median. The guy left 18 skid marks behind, and the person who ran him off took off. And, my Pete got him. We put him to the side of the road.
We told me at first, I was like, you chased this guy down, like on the road?
It's just sad we got to do that. But otherwise, that gentleman that got ran off the road, as I told the trooper when he got there, I said, you're going to look at his truck. He had a flatbed with a load on it, so you're probably not going to find a lot of damage to the truck. But what you need to look at is the pavement back there where those skid marks are. That represents 18 tires that got flat spotted. 18 tires have got to be replaced. And if people haven't priced tires lately, they know that that's a good size bill.
Yeah.
We're looking at $15,000-$16,000 to get that truck back on the road, just in tires. And so the fact that we caught this guy and held him at the side of the road until they got there, they were able to get his information. That truck driver came up and thanked me, and I told him very simply, I said, well, you would have done the same thing for me. So just a word of caution, while I went back to that truck, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I did have Andy on the phone with me just to maintain whether or not I needed any help. But the trooper called me the next day. He said, we're ecstatic that you stepped in and helped us. And I'm not trying to say I'm any kind of hero. I'm just saying we care about people on the road. The old-time trucker used to be the person on the road that anybody could look to for guidance and help.
Yeah.
We're missing those people. And I encourage these people that think they can jump in a truck and make a min of money. You got responsibility while you're on the road. You should be looking out for your people around you.
More than just making a profit margin.
Yeah. If you're just looking to hold the steering wheel and expect a check, it's not the right place for you.
I've never talked to guys about that, but the social responsibility out there on the road.
Yeah, it's you treat people with courtesy, and they'll treat you with courtesy. How many times do you hear it? You go in to fuel up, you get done fueling before you go in and get your coffee or your drink. Pull your truck forward. Let the guy behind you in there and start his fueling process. It's just simple things like that that make the day so much different.
Yeah.
And
how much of an impact just those little things to influence and create a positive impact on somebody else that does that to somebody else that does that to somebody else.
Absolutely. And those poor ladies in there at the cash register in the fuel station, say something nice to them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys aren't saying things nice to them.
Yeah.
And, they have a rough day dealing with the major turn, the amount of rings up at the cash register. And it's not a fun job.
Yeah.
We can help make their day.
Yeah, I'm Michael Brown. I own B&B Trucking and MDB Logistics. I've used BulkLoads since probably 2010. It's developed a lot of connections over the years as far as getting more shippers and more lanes that I need to run, and it's just been great to me over the years. And technology is great. I mean, you can go on there and you can look at all the shippers, and you got all the data in one place instead of trying to Google and you don't even know who you're trying to find. But if you get on there, there's a whole list of shippers, and you can telephone numbers, contact info, and that's a great help.
Well, I got Mark Hilligoss on with Royal Charge Trucking in Tipton, Indiana, talking about this. I want to talk a little bit more about Andy and then finish a little bit talking about our industry, specifically the bulk industry that we serve here. We're going to promote this more, and I think, man, I just hats off to you for taking the initiative to get out there. I think it's one of those, if you don't do it, you're never going to know. And I think, some of us can be sitting on the sidelines, and myself included. Sometimes you see a need, and you're like, somebody else is going to take care of that. but then you keep thinking about it like, man, there's somebody one told me, said like, if not you, then who? You know, and like anytime I see a need, I always think that, and I don't always answer the call. I'm not saying I do, but like for me, I think about that, like, hey, if not who, if not you, then who? So I encourage you out there listening to this. We're going to put the link. It's on our form. We're going to bump it back up. We'll actually have the GoFundMe link in the episode notes on this podcast. So if you're listening right now, you can drop down and you'll see the GoFundMe. And I'll say this, like, I don't want to underestimate this. Dude, every little bit helps. Absolutely. Sometimes you look at this as like, man, like, what's $5 going to mean in the grand scheme of things? If that's what you, what's $10? What's a $20 bill? Like, man, I dropped $5 on a coffee over here that wasn't that good. You know, I put it in perspective, like, I can give up a coffee today and donate this and not more. So just encourage you out there, drop down in the episode notes, go to the GoFundMe link. And man, let's support Andy and this industry that we serve. I think, like I said, it'll have more of an impact than you know on that. Mark, just a couple more questions, and man, I'll let you go here. Talk about the bulk hopper industry and kind of the why you're in this industry, why you guys are serving this industry. You're talking about some of these companies that you guys work for and all that. I mean, there's all types of modes and equipment you can be pulling out there. Why are you doing this?
Well, some people say it to become broke, but the hopper industry serves a very unique spot in the this business world. But there are still, no matter what we do, seed beans still need to get to the dealers. There's capacities that are needed to move this product to the niche market. And if a person knows how to utilize customer service values, you're not a truck driver for these people. You're a customer representative. You're a customer service representative. So
because a lot of times you're more close to the customer than the person that you're hauling the product for, right?
Right.
Like they know you. They don't know when they think of the service or the company that that they're buying it from. Like they're picturing you and they're not the company, the shipping company.
There's times that comes, and we've got dealers that are calling back to the customer saying, next time send my beans through Royal Charge Trucking. I want them, or I want Andy with Bingman Farms, or I want Cody with C&K Miller. We have that, and just recently Andy had a gentleman call him and say, "Hey, Andy, you haul my beans into the plant this year."
Oh man!
So, of course, he wasn't able to, so some of the rest of us ran them for him. And but those dealers have even come to the aid for Andy. That's how much they come to respect the drivers that are doing.
I get emotional thinking about that. That's cool. That's so cool.
We've got a dealer that I contacted them, and he's like, "You tell me what you need, and I'll get a hold of Mayor, and we'll get a hold of the reps, and we'll get people moving." And
wow!
They ended up $250 donations next day came into the fund. Those people. And last time Andy was down there, Tina had breakfast ready for him. That's the kind of things that those are just mementos that you have that you'll never forget. And my daughter and her two cousins are running around the show down here.
Yep.
They're 11 years old and 13 years old. And my daughter's on spring break, and first of the week, we ran a load out to Kansas City and back. This week, the rest of the week, she's spending here at the truck show. So,
that's cool.
It's awesome.
So just you and her?
And her two cousins. Yep.
Well, I mean, as far as that load you took to Kansas City, was that who all rode?
Elena rode with me.
Okay.
And the dog. Prince is our mascot, and he runs the show. That truck rolls without him. He's upset.
Man, we thank you for your membership on BulkLoads. Man, if you don't mind sharing a couple words, how's your experience been with BulkLoads?
Oh, tremendous. We've had tremendous support. You call in for anything, they treat you like family, and I'm not saying that lightly. I really appreciate that conversations that we've had on different things. I kid, it's not just a because I'm sitting here at your booth saying the right thing for you. It is. Call in, treated like family. How can we help? What do we need to do?
Yeah.
That's the kind of support we need, and
Yeah.
and it feels good.
Appreciate that, man. We try to do everything we can. We know it's tough out on the road, and we know when somebody's calling, they're calling because of a problem, and we have to solve that problem. And I think it's how you handle that with that person and showing them the deepest respect. And I don't know, I preach it from the top down to these people, like how important this is, and just like how we have to treat people, how we want to be treated, but just not just because we want their business, but because it's the right thing to do, regardless of whether we get their business or not. So,
if a person or company wants to stand out in today's society, just show a little respect, and people, wow, I haven't felt that for a while.
That company was actually kind to me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So, well, again, I wanted to bring Mark on to really talk about Andy Orem's story and situation. I didn't ask this earlier, though. He's got family, right?
He does, yes.
So they need just as much support, too, right,
Yes.
in this time. I mean, I'm sure he was the breadwinner for the family, and income, it's not there either. So that's just as important times like this when someone's going through situations like this. It's not just the hospital expenses, but the day-to-day expenses that the rest of the family has.
Correct.
So that's part of this as well.
Andy's wife, Brenda, she is a nurse at a nursing home.
Yeah.
She's taking care of these folks that COVID's gone through. She's been through a real trying time here of late with all that going on. And she's been through the COVID many times. So, yeah, she's wore out. And, this with Andy's really taken a toll on her as well. And we're just trying to keep both of them encouraged. And they have found that the top doctor for this disease is down in Florida. So the next thing we'll be doing is trying to get them down there.
Traveling down there. So, well, we're going to keep them in our prayers, number one, but then also do everything we can to support. So, again, if you're listening to this show right now, again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but you can go down to the episode notes. We have the GoFundMe link on there. You'll be able to click on that and make a donation. I'm just encouraging, do what's you felt's right, or do what you feel is right in your heart on these situations. So, man, Mark, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for sending this information to us. I think, the power of the network. We have now over 7,000 members on our platform, and if we can get that to others, and again, going back to this band of brothers to help people out that are in need, because, man, we all have trials in our life, and there's going to be times that we're going to need this as well. So why not step up? And I think these are it's challenging times to a certain extent, and I think that's when, I think that's when God kind of pushes us even more to dig deep to see where our faith is and what we can do to support and help them. So, Mark, thank you so much for stopping by the booth, man. God bless you.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate your support.
Tyler, I love going to Matt's, but it's stories like this you probably won't ever hear unless you're face to face with someone like that. And just it's always good to talk about business, but man, at the end of the day, we serve customers and we work in businesses, but it's really to serve others in our community and our family.
Yeah, Jared, you brought up a good point while talking with Mark, and in the forums, it's like we all see,
the good old forums.
Yeah, people tearing each other down sometimes and whatever, but you can get caught up in a lot of that stuff, and the actual true point, behind our industry, and we're all together as one, trying to help each other out and trying to serve each other. So I think this podcast is gonna hopefully fuel some guys and to make guys realize what this industry is all about. Yeah,
we know that it's been a struggle over the past couple months. Obviously, rates have been tough. Fuel's been up and down. It seems like it's up again. Insurance premiums, and we just know that there's a lot going on. But man, at the end of the day, we're here to serve others, and we know you all out there are serving others as well. I personally think a lot of trucking companies I know are some of the most generous people. Yeah. Some of the people, and even just small independents that don't have as much as some of these biggers, are more giving and sacrificing and willing to donate than some of these others.
Yeah.
But you're going to do this, Tyler, but there again on our forum there is, and you can do it by if you search in the forums, but it's titled GoFundMe by Andy Orem. I had started it again. It was back in March, and you can go and click on that. There's a GoFundMe link. Tyler, I'm sure you can even drop the link right into the episode notes. But man, if you're willing to give, and I said this on there, I mean, every dollar counts. And I mean, you don't realize, hey, I only have this, or I can only go that. A little bit of this adds up to a lot, and especially with our network of of members on our site that we can reach, and just fellow listeners of the podcast.
Yes, I know their goal is 250,000. I think they've raised 1,500, a little over 1,500 right now. But I mean, I say let's really show Andy and Mark the power of this industry and what having a band of brothers can really do.
Yeah. So one thing too, now that we have this live or have this broadcast on YouTube, you can actually make comments and put them down the bottom.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you of this episode, but even other episodes that you would like to hear in the future. Give us some good feedback. I mean, we love hearing good feedback, but we don't learn until we hear constructive or even critical feedback on how we can improve this show.
And I promise we read every single comment that goes on there, and we'll even respond to every comment.
Yeah.
We'll interact with you on there.
And equally, if you can share this out to others, we appreciate that. Now you can actually share it on the app. So if you're listening to this to the app, just the audio, there is a share button that you can share it by text or email to anybody in your network that can benefit from it as well. So awesome. Well, thank you as always for listening to the BulkLoads podcast, and God bless.